In 2023, I discovered a tried and true Reels strategy that helped me to grow from about 35,000 followers in January of 2023 to now over 145,000 followers in April of 2024. To get right down to it, this strategy is really all about finding the balance between trendy reels and original reels and using the advantages of both of these types of content to help you not only grow and increase your follower count, but also to help you nurture that relationship that you already have with your existing followers. But it goes deeper than just understanding the difference between trendy and original reels. So today I'm going to break down all of the aspects of my Instagram Reels growth strategy that helped me get to and surpass 100K followers. And we're going to talk about how you can implement it in 2024 and beyond. So I'm super excited to be getting into today's episode. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Creator Club. When it comes to growing on Instagram or really any other platform as a content creator, knowing and understanding your analytics for your content is one of the most crucial pieces of the strategy puzzle. You can analyze all of your social insights across platforms using my favorite social metrics tool, Hudson. You can connect your accounts across YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, and Pinterest so that you can see all of your most important metrics all in one place. What I really love about using Hudson is it's fully customizable and visual dashboards. So you can choose what metrics are most important to you and where and when you want to see them. Honestly, I am not naturally a huge numbers person, but using Hudson really helps me to be able to understand and interpret my social metrics, which in turn helps me to create a more effective strategy for growth. Plus, Hudson also recently released their 2024 benchmarks report, which is totally free for you to access and gives you a lot of really helpful information about many different industries and how they tend to perform on social media. So if you want the most up-to-date information that can help you craft an effective growth strategy, you're definitely going to want to check that out. And you can get that benchmarks report totally for free if you go to dashhudson.com/creatorclub, where you can also grab a free trial of Hudson if you would like to check it out. So as always, thank you so much to my friends at Hudson for being the sponsors of the Creator Club podcast, and let's dive into today's episode. All right, I want to talk about Instagram Reels and growth strategy with y'all, but first I have to give a warm introduction. Welcome back to the Creator Club podcast. Welcome back to the second season of our video podcast. If you're tuning in from YouTube, then you'll see that I'm rocking some serious headphones right now, which I didn't do for the first season that we recorded this on video, but I'm wearing them today because if you've been following the saga on my Instagram account and in my YouTube videos, you'll know that there is some serious construction going on right outside my window. And I just want to make sure that the audio sounds okay for y'all. So that's why I'm going to be continuously monitoring it with these fancy headphones. I'm really hoping that it sounds okay and that there's not distracting background noise, but we're going to keep an eye on it. And as always, I thank you for bearing with me. But yeah, we got a lot of really great feedback to the first season that we did as a video podcast. So I'm excited to continue with it. I've got some really great episodes planned for this season, including one very exciting interview that will come along later down the line. So yeah, lots of great content coming for you. So make sure that you are subscribed to the Creator Club podcast on YouTube, or you're following the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you like to listen, because I'm really excited about what I've got coming up for you. Okay, so let's dive in to my personal strategy for growing on Instagram using Instagram Reels. Y'all, I feel like I really floundered with this for a while. When Reels was first released back in August of 2020, I feel like we were all just kind of trying to figure out how to use it, what this platform was going to look like. And since then, I think Reels has really come into its own in terms of it has its own distinct trends, formats, and culture as opposed to TikTok and even now Shorts as well. And I feel like a lot of us have had a chance to experiment and get a sense of what works for our audiences on Reels. So I'm excited to share what works for me in the hopes that you'll be able to apply similar practices, similar structures to make it work for you as well. The very first thing that we need to talk about is how to plan your content. Because really, if you want to be successful with any kind of social media content creation, you need to have a plan and you need to have a strategy. I think platforms like TikTok and like Reels to a lesser extent kind of encourage people to be very off the cuff and very sort of in the moment, unplanned, unstructured. And that can be a vibe, but unfortunately, it's not a vibe that's very easy to keep up in the long term if you're actually trying to turn this into a business, which is why planning your content in advance, having a content calendar, and having some like semblance of an idea of what you're going to be posting over the next like week to month is very, very important. So I want to let you in on my planning process because I think this is something that a lot of people are skeptical about because they feel like they need to make reels in the moment. But the truth is, you don't. You can actually plan your reels, even your trendy reels, if you'll believe that, up to like a month in advance, in my opinion, or at least that's what I did. And I did that for the month of January, actually, and it turned out to be one of my best months ever on Instagram, even though I wasn't doing stuff in the moment and off the cuff. So let's talk about my planning process. Okay, so like I mentioned in the intro, my strategy starts with two different kinds of reels. We've got original reels and we've got trendy reels. And even within those two larger umbrellas, I kind of have subcategories that I think about in terms of formats or structures. Because when it comes to planning your content and coming up with ideas, I find it really, really helps to have formats, essentially buckets or packaging that you're going to take your subject matter and you're going to fit it inside of it in order to publish it and share it with your audience. Having these predefined formats or structures kind of gives you a starting point for coming up with ideas. It just makes the brainstorming process easier. So when I sit down to plan my Reels content, maybe even up to a month in advance, I think about having a balance between trendy content and original content. Let's just rewind a second in case there's anybody new tuning in. When I say trendy content on Reels, what I really mean is those short, like 7-second, highly visual videos that are based on a trending audio, and they tend to really come down to just this simple formula. Highly visual and dynamic B-roll plus text on screen plus trending background music equals a reel with viral potential. So because they all pretty much follow this very formulaic pattern, this is what enables you to be able to plan your reels, even your trendy ones, in advance. A lot of creators think that the planning process or the ideation process for Reels needs to start with scrolling and coming across the audio that you're going to use. But in fact, it doesn't. What I have found to be the most effective way to be able to plan my content in advance and therefore have a strategy, have a workflow, have consistency is coming up with the idea for the trendy Reel completely separately from finding the audio. Because like I was saying, pretty much every trendy Reel is the same. It's just background music plus dynamic visuals plus text on screen. So when you sit down to plan your trendy Reels, you can start off by thinking about what are my visuals going to be? What is my text on screen going to be? And then when it comes time to actually post the video, you can go ahead and find a current trending audio that makes sense to pair with it. So that's my process for planning my trendy Reels in advance. Now let's talk about what I mean by original Reels. Okay, so original Reels are longer format Reels, so up to 90 seconds. That's the current limit for the length of Reels that you can post. For me, these tend to be talking head videos, sometimes tutorials, sometimes vlogs. There's all kinds of different approaches that you can take with your original Reels. And so that's kind of what I was saying before about there being umbrellas, right? Like trendy and original are kind of umbrellas or bigger buckets of types of Reels you can make. And then within original Reels and trendy Reels too, there's several different, kind of buckets. So under what we think of trendy Reels, I kind of talked about the main one that's like relevant still now, that being the visual plus text plus trending audio. But in the past, we used to see other kind of very popular buckets of trendy content. So for example, lip syncs to like little sound bites or whatever, maybe skits. There's formats too that are trendy, like, even though it's not got a background music necessarily, but something like the we're millennials, of course we blah, blah, blah. That would fit as like a type of trend. So there are those to some extent, but I would say Really, the most common one and the most effective one that you're going to use for growth is the visuals plus text on screen plus background music. So those are kind of like the sub buckets or sub types of trendy reels. And then with original reels, like I was saying, you've got your tutorials, you've got your talking head advice videos, you could make a day in the life vlog, really anything that you can picture as working as like a YouTube video, for example, you could make work as an original reel. Just make it vertical and make it shorter. So you can think about those potential sub buckets or sub categories of original reels when you are sitting down to plan your reels. And so I know I've been doing a lot of rambling, but here's what I would actually recommend in terms of like a tangible takeaway here. You want to sit down, open up a content calendar. I personally love to plan my content calendar in Notion. And if you want to do this yourself, I actually have a free Notion content calendar template that you can grab. You can just go to katiesteckley.com/calendar and then you can sign up and I'll email it to you. So you can open up this content calendar. And what I would recommend doing is start by placing some placeholders on there for your original and your trendy and any other sub buckets of or sub formats that you want to delineate between, and place them on your calendar. So just in the most simple way, let's say you want to post 3 reels per week. Maybe you want to do 2 trendy reels and 1 original. So you can place those placeholders on your calendar. So say Monday you do a trendy reel, Wednesday original, Friday trendy, and fill that out for your entire month. That's going to be your first stage of planning. From there, you can start to actually ideate on what those trendy reels are going to address or what those original reels are going to address. And you can start adding in that information in your content calendar. So maybe, one of your original reels is going to be a tutorial. Maybe the next week it's going to be a day in the life vlog. And maybe the week after that, it's going to be like a talking head, like advice video. And then for your trendy ones, you really just got to think, okay, visuals plus text plus trending audio. The trending audio for now is going to stay blank until you actually arrive at the week or the week before you plan to post it. And then you can actually find the audio that's going to go along with it. But in the meantime, you can definitely think about what the visuals would be and what the text would be. And really, when it comes down to it, you can communicate the same message or the same information in the format of a trendy reel as you would in an original reel, but you're just going to do it in a more succinct and visual way. So that is kind of the process that I use for actually planning out what my reels are going to be about. So that's where I start with that. Moving on to the next step, the next phase in my Instagram Reels strategy, I like to organize all of my ideas that I come up with between planning sessions. So I know we kind of jumped the gun on this. We were just talking about content calendars and how you're going to plan all of that. But you might have been thinking, okay, so when I sit down with my content calendar, what if my mind is completely blank and I actually don't have any ideas to associate with those placeholders? That is where this part of the strategy comes in. So basically what I like to do is, as a part of my Notion content calendar database, I have a secondary tab that's just for ideas. So I haven't associated these with a date yet, or even necessarily with a format. They're just things that I think would resonate with my audience, pieces of information that I could teach, tutorials that I could share, whatever it might be. And I'm constantly adding to this database. I think it's so important to have a place where you can just jot down ideas that come to you, maybe while you're showering, maybe while you're out for a walk. Like, I feel like the best ideas for content always come to us at the most inconvenient times, right? So that's why I love to have the Notion app on my phone. And whenever I have a good idea for potential, real concept, even if it's not fully formed yet, even if I don't know if it'll be a trendy or original reel yet, I'll add it to my database so that I always have that on hand. And when it comes to actually sitting down with my content calendar, I can reference this database, pull ideas from it, and then associate them with those placeholders on my calendar. Now, the cool thing is, with a lot of ideas that you might come up with and store in your little database, they can probably be taken in both directions in terms of presented as an original reel or presented as a trendy reel. And this is your opportunity to take the ideas that you come up with and really stretch them and make them go further than you maybe originally thought that you could. So basically for every idea, you can like double your output, which just makes it a lot easier to be consistent with Reels, which is one of the keys to growing. So this is something that I like to do. For example, one of the ideas that I have in my content calendar database right now is 10 things that I always pack to travel vlog. I think that's a good idea. I think people might be interested in the gear that I use, especially stuff that's like lightweight and easy to carry with you. So that's an idea that I jotted down. So as I'm thinking about it, I realized there's kind of two different ways I could present this in terms of trendy versus original. If I was going to do that as a trendy reel, probably what I would do is do kind of like a flat lay style video. So it's like a top down of my desk and all of the different gadgets and gear that I use for travel vlogging are laid out in a really like kind of aesthetic, grid. And then when I bring that into the editor, I'm going to add little text labels on top of each gear item. So it'll be like Sony ZVE10, Sony 11mm lens, whatever, and I'll label each of those pieces of gear. So then it's a very like aesthetic image that's full of information. It's like something that people will want to save because they can really quickly reference it if they want to like look up this gear on their own time. And then it's literally just like a 7-second one clip reel that I'll throw a trending audio over top and it's ready to go. So that's one approach I could take with that idea, but I could actually take that idea and also make it into an original reel. So maybe for an original reel of 10 things that I always take with me to travel vlog, it could be like a little sit down, like what's in my bag style video, like, old school YouTube, but obviously vertical. And we're going to keep it probably around a minute long. And it could be me pulling these items out of my backpack or whatever and talking very briefly about each one and why I love to bring it with me traveling. So you can see in that example how for every idea that you throw into your database, when you sit down with that content calendar, you could spin it out into 2, maybe even more different types of reels. And what I would recommend doing if you're worried about this being a little bit repetitive or kind of getting boring for your audience, first of all, don't worry too much about that. We're always more self-conscious about that than we need to be because the reality is nobody is paying as close attention to your content as you are. So for a lot of people, they maybe will only see one or the other reel. They might not see both. Second of all, if Taylor Swift can repurpose content, girl, so can we. Okay? It's okay to do this. It's actually more effective at establishing that trust with your audience and your brand because people will start to associate you with the things you talk about most. So it's okay to share similar content multiple times. But that being said, if you do want to try to spread things out a little bit, this is the beauty of planning out your content, about a month at a time, because you could come up with these two ideas, these two travel vlogging gear ideas, and I could maybe schedule the trendy one to go in the first week of the month, and then maybe I'll put the original one in like the last week of the month. Then they're so spread out, there's no way that people are going to, remember that I did both of them. And hey, now I've got 2 of the slots on my content calendar filled for the price of one idea. So I really recommend you taking that approach. Come up with your concepts or your ideas, store them in your database, and then when it comes to actually plan your reels, think about how you can use one idea and spin it off into multiple different formats. Okay, we've talked a lot about planning ideas. We've talked about how you can come up with them, store them in your database, and then apply them to a content calendar. So now what I want to talk you through is the nitty-gritty of my actual weekly reels workflow. Because it's one thing to come up with a content calendar and be really, optimistic and excited about the ideas that we have. And then it's another thing entirely to actually turn that into a consistent posting schedule, like that you're actually posting the stuff that you've come up with. So let's talk about how I do that. I am obsessed with routines and systems. I love having a weekly routine that I return to again and again, where I know every Monday I'm going to edit my YouTube videos. Every Wednesday I'm going to script my next one. Every Friday I'm going to film. Okay, I love that routine, that regularity. It's something that I can depend on, and it ensures that I get my content done. So I have a system like that for Reels. Let me talk you through it. It all starts off on Tuesday, which is when I write my Reels scripts for the following week. So we're picking up the story where I've planned out the content calendar for the month, and now the week before the week I'm actually going to post the content, has come around. And so I need to actually make it. So I sit down to write my reel scripts. I look at my content calendar and I take a look at the concepts that I planned out for the following week. And I'm going to actually write down what I'm going to say in these, if they're talking head videos like original reels, or I'm going to write down the text on screen that's going to be there if it's a trendy reel. So some of these are obviously going to go quicker than others, but at this point I am making a clear plan for what I need to film, what the text is going to be, whether it's spoken or just on the screen, and what the visuals are going to be. So not only am I writing a script or writing out the text on screen, but I'm also going to make a little bit of a shot list that says, what those visuals are going to be if it's a trendy reel, what, visuals I need to capture if it's a tutorial or talking head video. So I've got that all planned out and ready to go for the next day in my process. So I spend about an hour on Tuesday scripting and planning what I'm going to film. Then we dive into Wednesday, which is my reels filming day. So this is when I'm going to pick up whatever I wrote on Tuesday, and I'm going to actually capture it to the camera. So I'm going to read out my script that I wrote for my original reels, or I'm going to go through my checklist of visuals that I need to capture to create the trendy reels. Sometimes this will be stuff that I need to physically film. Other times it might just be a matter of me going back through my B-roll library and selecting the specific clips that I know represent what I want to share. So sometimes it's a mix of both. I recently made a reel that was like 5 tips to make your B-roll look better, or 5 easy tips for, improving your B-roll, something like that. And I knew for the 5 tips that I had in mind, which remember I wrote during my script writing session on the Tuesday, I knew that I had visuals that would represent 4 out of 5 of those points that I wanted to talk about. But I knew one of them, I thought through what I had in my B-roll catalog, and I was like, no, I don't have anything that represents lowering the exposure and how to do that on an iPhone. So I was like, okay, great. That's what I'm going to film then. So then when Wednesday came around, it was time for filming. I filmed my talking head portion for the reel that I need to do that for. And then for the trendy reel, all I had to do was set up and get this one clip of me showing how you can tap on the screen of your iPhone and drag down the little sun icon to decrease the exposure. So then I had captured that clip and I was basically ready to go with that trendy reel because I already had 4 out of the 5 clips that I needed to represent my points. So this again can really vary in how much you actually need to capture, but the point is you go into your filming session knowing very clearly what those clips are going to be because you took the time to plan it out during the writing session on Tuesday. Okay, moving on to the next day in my reels workflow, we have Thursday, which is when I actually edit my reels. Though I do occasionally edit my reels on my phone, it's very, very occasionally. 99% of the time I am editing my reels in Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm just way faster with it, honestly, and I find it less glitchy and less annoying than trying to edit inside the Instagram Reels editor. So when it comes to editing, this could be everything from adding B-roll over top of a talking head shot. It could be adding subtitles or the text on screen, bringing music into the background because sometimes I use trending audios and sometimes I don't. And I like to do this all inside of Premiere Pro. And if you're curious about my detailed step-by-step process of doing that, I actually made a very in-depth video where I honestly don't do this a lot, but this is a full in-depth Premiere Pro vertical content editing tutorial, and it's going to be released to my membership. So if you didn't know, I've got an exclusive membership. It's called the Creator Club, obviously, and you can get access to it if you would like. So I'm going to leave the link in the description for you to check that out. Or if you're listening and you're already a Creator Club member, go ahead and check out the Reels editing tutorial because it's live as of this month. I release an exclusive video to the Creator Club every month over there. So yeah, go check that out if you want to see exactly how I edit my Reels. Finally, once I have them edited, I'm going to go ahead and schedule them. There's lots of different ways to do this. If you're a fan of automatically posting stuff that you've scheduled in advance because you're going to forget, later is an option for that. You can also schedule content inside Dash Hudson. For me personally, I like to save my reels as drafts, and I do this with my TikToks as well. So after I finish editing them, I'll airdrop them over to my phone, and then from my phone's camera roll, I'll pull them in to the Instagram Reels editor or into TikTok as well, because everything I post on Reels, I post on TikTok as well, because like, why not? Just, you've made it anyway, you may as well post it in multiple places. So then I'll leave it in my Instagram Reels drafts until the day that I'm actually going to post it, and then I'll go navigate to my drafts, open up the reel, I'll preview it one last time, and then I will finally post it on the actual day that I want to post it. That's just my personal preference. There's really no benefit of going in and manually posting a draft over just like having something auto posted. There's nothing wrong with auto posting if that's better for you. So you can definitely do that too. So that's kind of the life cycle of a reel, from idea to actually posting. And that is really how I do it on a week-to-week basis. I plan out my ideas about a month in advance, so I have a full content calendar of ideas, and then I execute on them with this strategy. And really what it comes down to is a balance between content that is designed for reach, such as trendy reels, and content that is designed to build up trust and build up that relationship with your audience, which is what original reels really are. And if there's something that I really want to leave you with, it's the idea that yes, we're doing this in order to, of course, gain followers, get increased reach on our reels. But something that I want you to not forget about is that really when it comes down to it, views on reels are only worth so much. And actually in most cases, like, there may not be a dollar value on them at all. Like, I'm not part of any Reels rewards program, so I don't make any money directly off of Reels themselves unless, I'm doing like a brand deal or something. And so what I want to remind you to do is always be thinking about how you can use the reach that you're gaining and turn it into something that actually generates income for you. Because ultimately, all of us are in this because we're trying to build sustainable businesses doing something that we love, right? So I just don't want you to forget about the actual business aspect, which I know it can be easy to do because it's, in my opinion, really easy to get addicted to like that rush of increased reach, getting those comments and those views, and like it feels so good. So you kind of keep pushing yourself to do it. But you really want to make sure that your reels are also working for you, because y'all know we're doing a lot of work for our reels. So we want to make sure that in exchange they're working for us. So think about how you can actually take your reach that you're getting on Instagram and turn it into something that provides, revenue or value for you. So that's something that I'm trying to remind myself to do more often. And one way that I've been doing that is by trying to actually include frequent call to actions in my reels, whether it's to get people on my email list or whether it's promoting some of my paid products directly, like my digital products or maybe my membership or whatever, or it's promoting an affiliate link. And so my favorite way to do that lately has actually been using ManyChat. So if you've ever seen somebody put in their caption, like, comment gear and I'll send you a link to my gear guide, they're probably using ManyChat to do that. So it's an automation system that allows you to automatically DM people links or, like whatever, really. You can add anything in that message. And for me, it's been a game changer at actually being able to take the reach my reels are getting and turn it into something that is, revenue generating for my business. It's something that I was hesitant to get started with because I was kind of intimidated by it. And in general, like, I don't want to over automate stuff because I really value having like a genuine relationship with the people that I connect with online. But I think we're at a point where people understand the use of automated chatbots for this purpose because, it just wouldn't be possible for me to manually send out like 1,000 links, but ManyChat allows me to get you the info or the product or the link that you're looking for. So it's really great for that reason, and it's actually been like kind of a game changer for me, especially in terms of growing my email list. I was looking back and just with my gear guide alone, I've gained over 3,000 new email list subscribers just over the past few months from periodically mentioning my gear guide in Reels and then sending people the link using ManyChat. And yeah, I've also done that to send the link to like tripods or other gear that I use. And that's a great way to generate affiliate sales. And I could also, of course, use it to directly send people to my paid stuff. So just something to consider. ManyChat's just one way of implementing this, of actually translating your reach that you get through Reels into business for yourself. You could also use it as, like awareness campaigns for your product. It doesn't always have to be like a direct call to action, a direct conversion version. But just think about that. I don't want you to lose sight of the purpose of all of this, and it's building a sustainable business that can support you. So don't get too caught up in just the followers and the views, because those don't put food on the table. So always be thinking about how you can take your Instagram Reels reach and actually translate that into something that truly does benefit you more than just the dopamine rush of seeing that you got a lot of views. And of course, a significant part of that process of taking your reach and turning it into something more is being able to understand your reach, understand your engagement, understand your metrics. And the best way to do that is by using Dash Hudson. So once again, if you want to check out Dash Hudson, if you want to get the free benchmarks report so that you can learn more about the industry standards of social media marketing in 2024, you can check that out at dashhudson.com/creator club. And of course, as always, big shout out to Dash Hudson for making the Creator Club podcast happen. And of course, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Obviously, I would not be here if it weren't for you tuning in and watching. And I'm so excited to be back for another season of the new and improved video version of the Creator Club podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with me if the audio wasn't so great today. And I will catch you in another episode next week. Bye.